What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I am now doing my Miami Dolphins versus New York Jets post-game analysis video. This is obviously for the game that was just played on Sunday, our victory against the Jets. So I'm going to give you guys the injury report going into it because that's obviously important, relevant information, and is definitely an important part of the commentary. I'm also going to give you, the breakdown, the stats and everything. I'm going to give you a drive-by-drive analysis. I'm not, walk through. I'm not going to, go play-by-play, but just rather drive-by-drives. And I'm going to try and keep my commentary, concise overall as best I can. I'm not going to go into a lot of, super individual plays or penalties or anything like that. I'll just give you generalized commentary, but hopefully it will get the picture across. Now, for me, so obviously we won. Awesome. 24-0. We beat them pretty handedly, but that was expected. Furthermore, it was expected that we just absolutely destroy the Jets. Now, when you go through and you watch the game and you actually watch how they played, but then even when you go through the stats and the play-by-play, you realize that the Dolphins, even though they won 24-0, they did not dominate. This was not a dominating performance, right? They just kind of, they did okay. And the Jets did terrible in addition to having a fuck ton of injuries, right? So, anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to give you all of the proof, the evidence, the facts, the data, and then, obviously people will make their own evaluation. So first of all, let's start with, injuries. So, going into this game. Now, let's note that the Dolphins have been one of the, most, healthy teams up to this point. They have not experienced the injury bug like, pretty much the entire rest of the league. Now, unfortunately, the past two games have started to pile some injuries up for the Dolphins, which is concerning. They do have their bye week this week to give them a chance to get healthy before they play the Rams, which I believe is in LA, and that's going to be a tough game because they are a tough team, and they, they're a pretty solid team, honestly. Yeah, so actually, it looks like that's going to be in Hard Rock Stadium. So it's going to be a home game for us. So they're coming to Hard Rock. Anyway, yeah, but so, if the Dolphins start racking up injuries, then my guess is their performance is also going to drop because then they're going to even up with the league where everybody else is. And then, things will balance out and the actual Dolphins, well, it'll just be more comparative and it'll be, more on an even playing field. Because if we have to, it's just, right, it's not fair, and it's great that the Dolphins are taking advantage of it, and getting some wins and could do better than what we would expect this season. But, they're not playing teams at full fucking capacity, etc., etc. Anyway, we've talked about that a bunch. Let's get on. So, going into this game, the Dolphins had Kyle Van Noy, Shaq Lawson, and Durham Smythe all questionable, and Devon Godshaw obviously was out. He got put onto, I don't know if he's actually been put onto injured reserve. I don't know why he wouldn't be, though, because he's expected to be out for like 3 months. I don't know if they officially put him on injured reserve. I'm not 100%, but he is obviously out and going to be out for a minute because of a biceps injury. Now, Kyle Van Noy and Shaq Lawson, I don't remember, honestly, I don't remember if any of those guys played, but they were questionable for the game and obviously injuries that we're going to have to keep an eye on going forward. The Jets had cornerback Bless Austin, defensive line John Franklin Myers, offensive line Alex Lewis, wide receiver Brashad Perryman, defensive line Quinnen Williams, all questionable for the game. Doubtful was quarterback Sam Darnold and offensive line Mekhi Becton. Neither of them played. And of course, they've also had a ton of other injuries, throughout the season as well. They are one of the most injury-riddled teams to this point through the league. But, you know, other teams are starting to catch up, including, unfortunately, the Dolphins, because we're not even halfway through the season yet. And I'm pretty sure the injuries are at, like, historic levels. They try not to talk about it too much because they just want to make sure that they want to make it seem like everything's okay and they can keep pushing on. But anyway, obviously the Jets came into this game massively decimated by injuries. And the Dolphins didn't, right? They had a few, you know, and a couple guys like out indefinitely or, you know, for the foreseeable future, which is, you know, Devon Godshaw and Austin Jackson is on IR, but I think he comes back. It's either for the Rams game or the game after that. I'm not really sure off the top of my head. But we will get him back. So the Dolphins have been a relatively healthy team. So obviously we go into this game, and part of the reason why the expectation is that we just absolutely destroy them was because, one, even at the beginning of the season, the Jets obviously, you know, are trying to rebuild, and, you know, they just, last year was Adam Gase's first year. They fired their GM in the middle of the season. So they already had a lot of issues starting out, right? Then they had, you know, they had some players opt out, I think, a couple players, but then they got decimated by injuries, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, there was absolutely no reason why the Dolphins shouldn't have just annihilated, 100% annihilated, the Jets. Now, you know, people will argue, well, they won 24-0. They didn't let him score, and they had a pretty solid defensive performance. They had, like, you know, 1 interception, 7 passes defensed, a bunch of tackles for loss, couple sacks. Really good, you know, solid. They held them to 11% third down conversion rate, right? So with that, you'd be like, wow, man, they really fucking, you know, took it to them. But honestly, if they would have, now we're going to give more specific examples in a minute, but honestly, bro, if they would have fucking dominated the Jets like they should have, because really, even though they won this game and won it handedly and didn't let them score, etc., they didn't live up to the expectations that they should have lived up to. Like, they should have scored over 40 points. You know, I'll get into some more specifics, but, you know, they shouldn't have had drives end like they did. They shouldn't have, you know, punted as many times as they did, etc., right? And again, even the stat lines, like, nothing about the stat lines is really that dominant, right? And because even the points, again, they should have scored way more, right? Anyway, so let's get into these stats. I mean, the Dolphins are now 3-3, so that's awesome, and they won the game 24-0, so that's cool. The Jets are 0-6, but again, they're 0-6. They're a bad team with a lot of problems at the beginning of the year, and then, you know, decimated by injuries. So we should have destroyed the Jets even worse than we did. So let's see, 302 total yards. I mean, really, is 300 yards in total offense dominant? Does anybody think that that's dominant? They had 263. They weren't even that far behind us. We had 192 passing yards. Really, is that dominant? To their 148. We had over 100 yards on the ground, 110. Okay, but we didn't have a 100-yard rusher, and that's still not even all that great. They beat us 115, right? 5.4 yards per play, just okay, right? So, you know, look, and the Dolphins in this game, their performance, especially when you watch the game, watch the tape, you know, they had moments of dominance and, you know, whatever. And a couple of the data points, like the overall, the ending score, would lead you to believe, you know, that there was some dominance there. But then every time that they exhibited, you know, dominance, then they exhibited either just, you know, woefully average play or even some bad play, really bad play. Right? They had our 5.4 yards per play to their 3.8. No team lost a fumble. We threw 2 interceptions. They threw 1. So we lost the turnover battle. How do we lose the turnover battle? Right? We were 11% on third downs. Really? We couldn't convert fucking third downs to save our fucking life against the Jets. Bro, against the Jets. Who thinks that's dominant? Really? How does that you lose the turnover battle, You were 11% on third downs. They won the time of possession battle. We had the ball for 28 minutes and 5 seconds. They had it for 31:55. Obviously, we won the game, so that doesn't, mean anything in that regard. But how do you say that this is a dominant performance? There is overwhelming evidence in this game to prove that it wasn't actually dominant, right? That they just kind of, they just, they played all right against a fucking terrible, and then we had 5 penalties. They had 7, but they actually had a few more. It's just that, for whatever reason in the game, we ended up declining their penalties. They had an ungodly amount of fucking penalties. They were destroying themselves left and fucking right. Mistakes left and fucking right. Joe Flacco did not look like he was in this game at all. Like, his body language, the expression on his face, like, there was nothing about Joe Flacco that looked like he was in it until, like, maybe the last drive. But even then, he just looked like he was in a cold sweat panic, kind of excitement at that point, right? And coincidentally, that was after apparently him and Adam Gase got into some like screaming match on the sideline. So whatever. But like, I don't understand how people look at this in full detail when you take in everything into account and be like, oh yeah, they completely dominated them. Not really. All right, let's continue on. Ryan Fitzpatrick was 18 for 27. Okay. 66.7% completion percentage. Just like average. 191 yards. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 93.3 passer rating. What about that is dominant? Or stellar or spectacular? Okay. Nothing. How about that? Tua comes in, 2 for 2, 100% completion percentage, 9 yards, and an 85.4 passer rating. No touchdowns, no interceptions. You didn't see anything out of him because he didn't have time to show anything, for one. And, also because you're playing an injury-riddled and bad team. And cool, he was 100%, whatever. It was last minute. None of that really even fucking matters. But, like, Ryan Fitzpatrick was all right? Like, he wasn't stellar. Joe Flacco was 21 for 40 out of 44, 47.7%, 186, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 50 passer rating. Again, Joe Flacco and the Jets played terribly, are massively injured, and had plenty of issues going into this game. So for all of those factors and the expectations of how, of destroying them, it was not a dominant performance by any stretch of the imagination, at least not compared to the level that it should have been. Anyway, Myles Gaskin, 18 rushes, 91 yards, almost 100-yard rusher, 5.1 yards, 5.1 yard average. Matt Breida, 6 rushes, 15 yards, and a 2.5 average. Okay, the rushing attack was okay. Again, not dominant. Frank Gore led the way for them, 11 rushes, 46 yards, 4.2 average. Ty Johnson, 3 rushes, 42 yards, and a 14 average. LaMichael Pirine, 7 rushes, 27 yards, and a 3.9 average. Receiving, Adam Shaheen, 3 of 3, 51 yards, and a touchdown. Didn't have a receiver over 100 yards. None of our receivers were really all that dominant, right? Jakeem Grant, 4 of 4, 48 yards. Devontae Parker, 3 of 8, 35. Myles Gaskin, 4 of 4, 35. Preston Williams, 2 of 3, 18 yards, and a touchdown. And then, of course, we got some players injured. Devontae Parker was one of them who got hurt in this game. We'll get to that in a minute. Rashad Perriman led the way for them, 4 of 8, 62. Jamison Crowder, 7 of 13, 48. Frank Gore, 4 of 4 for 24. Braxton Berrios, 1 of 3 for 18. Ryan Griffin, 2 of 3 for 17. And let's see, fumbles. We didn't have any. Joe Flacco did have a fumble, but he did not lose it. Defensively, Eric Rowe led the way, 7 solo, 2 assisted tackles and a pass defense. Nick Needham, 4 solo, 3 assisted. Jerome Baker, 4 solo, 2 assisted. Emmanuel Ogbah, 3 solo, 2 assisted, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Christian Wilkins, 3 solo, 2 assisted, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 2 passes defense. Bobby McCain, 2 solo, 2 assisted, and a pass defense. Delandon Roberts, 2 solo, 1 assisted, and a tackle for loss. Zach Sealer, 1 solo, 2 assisted, and a tackle for loss. Sam McGuavin, 1 solo, 1 assisted, 1 tackle for loss, and a pass defense. Xavier Howard, 1 solo tackle, 1 interception, 2 passes defense. Byron Jones, 1 solo tackle, 1 pass defense. Brandon Jones added a pass defense. Avery Williamson had 11 solo tackles. Neville Hewitt, 5 solo, 2 assisted. Pierre Desir, 4 solo, 1 assisted, 1 tackle for loss. Brian Poole, 3 solo, 3 assisted, 1 interception for 13 yards, 2 passes defense. Quinton Williams, 3 solo, 2 assisted, 1 tackle for loss and a pass defense. Kyle Phillips, 2 solo, 1 assisted, 2 tackles for loss. Terrell Basham, 2 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Marcus May, 2 solo and a pass defense. Bryce Huff, 1 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. In the kicking game, Jason Sanders was 1 for 1 on his field goal, which was from 24 yards, and 3 of 3 on his extra points. Sam Ficken missed his only field goal, so obviously more bad play by the Jets. We didn't block it or anything. He just missed it. It was a pretty long field goal, but he missed it, so that obviously was, contributed to the goose egg, for example, right? Let's see. Matt Hawk punted 7 times. The fact that we had to punt 7 times, how do you consider that dominant? Right? An average of 40.3, 5 inside the 20 and a long of 46. Braden Mann, we couldn't fucking capitalize on the 1 turnover that we got. We couldn't capitalize on good field position. Like, we pretty much got shut out in the second half. Yeah, we shut them out the entire game, but they pretty much shut us out the entire second half. We scored a field goal, right? Like, nothing about this overall performance says dominance. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Anyway, Jakeem Grant had 1 kickoff return for 23 yards. Let's see. And Vincent Smith, 1 kickoff return for 7 yards. Jakeem Grant had 6 punt returns for 13.8 average and a long of 30. They didn't have any punt returns. Key points and analysis. Did we win? Yes, obviously that's great. Quick breakdown of the game. The Jets received the ball to start the game. They go 3 and out. Then the Dolphins go 3 and out. Okay, great. Jets go 3 and out. Dolphins score a touchdown after 8 plays. Okay, improving. Jets punt after 10 plays. And that's the first quarter. Then the second quarter, Dolphins score a touchdown after 7 plays. Then the Jets go 3 and out. Dolphins then go 3 and out. Jets intercepted after 3 plays, but then the Dolphins couldn't do anything with it because then they go 3 and out. Jets go 3 and out. Dolphins score a touchdown after 3 plays. Jets go 3 and out. Dolphins intercepted after 4 plays. And then Jets end the half after 4 plays. Look, man, after their, 2 touchdown drives, well, first of all, their first offensive drive was a 3 and out. Then they score 2 touchdowns on consecutive drives. But then after that, the next 2 drives, not only do they go 3 and out and then have to punt, which is not dominant at all, but they got sacked. They lost yardage on both of those drives. I think the first one after that second touchdown was like negative something yards before they ended up punting, and then I think the next drive after that they punted with a net gain of 0 yards. Right? How is that dominant? What about that is dominant? Okay, then they managed to get the ball. They intercept the ball towards the end of the half, right? And then they get the ball back from the Jets after making them go 3 and out towards the end of the half. Okay, they move down the fucking field. They're going to try and double dip, right? Like the Patriots try to do all the time and other good teams, dominant teams, right? Something that they try and do is double dip, get some points before the end of the first half. And since you have the ball coming out after the second half or going into the second half, you get points again there. Well, guess what? Ryan Fitzpatrick fucks up, throws his first interception down in the fucking red zone, and we miss our chance for even 3 points. And so they don't get the first part of the double dip. They miss out on the double dip because they couldn't even fucking, capitalize at all, right? That's where they throw their first interception. Going into the third quarter, they come out, they get the ball again, and they go 3 and out. They couldn't get the second half of the double dip. I mean, the double dip didn't exist at that point. It would have been a single dip, but they couldn't even get the fucking single dip. How is that dominant? What about that is dominant? Where is the dominance? I'm not understanding. Where is the fucking dominance? Okay? You can cling on to the 24-0 score all you want. But that's literally just one piece. The rest of the data, including the game tape, strongly suggests that it actually was not a dominant performance. Okay, whatever. So Dolphins go 3 and out to start the third. Jets go 3 and out. Dolphins go 3 and out. Jets punt after 4 plays. Dolphins score field goal after 4 plays. Jets miss field goal after 6. Dolphins then go 3 and out. Fourth quarter starts. Jets punt after 4 plays. Dolphins intercepted after 1 play. Jets punt after 8. Dolphins go 3 and out. Jets turnover on downs after 13 plays. Dolphins end game after 5. Again, how's their dominance in there? Like, because even the fucking defensive performance, that's another thing I guess you can look at, right? They had a solid defensive stat line, including held them to 11% on third downs, and held them scoreless. But then when you take into account the bad play and the, miscommunications, the overthrows, the underthrows, the clear lack of enthusiasm and an urgency from Joe Flacco, the fact that they are massively injury riddled, etc., etc. When you take all these other things into consideration, it's like, not really, bro. They should have fucking done so much better. So much better. Anyway, and then on top of that, we get some injuries. Andrew Van Ginkel leaves with a possible concussion. Raekwon Davis leaves with a shoulder injury. Devontae Parker with a groin injury on top of his, already existing hamstring. So great. And then Kamu Grugier-Hill also leaves with a hand injury. So, it definitely, we won pretty handedly, but we did not dominate. And certainly not to the level and expectation that was on this game. And then, anyway, so, it is what it is. That's my stance. That's my take on it. Obviously, everybody else disagrees with me. Everybody else thinks that the Dolphins did wonderful and are this amazing team and they're going to be superstars. And now it's time for Tua. For what? For what? For what? What reason? There's literally no reason, right? And one thing I forgot to mention in the previous video of why it doesn't make sense. I mean, at least why announce it now? Why, because it's the media hype, right? So Brian Flores is a fucking liar. And it's because of the fucking hype. It's because their shiny new toy touched the field. And now that the fans and the media got a glimpse of it and, whatever, and my guess is also Stephen Ross, that's all they want to see now. Okay, I mean, there's literally no other reason for it. Ryan Fitzpatrick is playing fine. The rest of the league is decimated by injuries, and so there are reasons to believe that the Dolphins can luck their way into extra wins. It's just, there's no reason. At least let him go through practice. Name him the starter right before the game. So then you can at least say, well, he's had phenomenal practice. You can at least really hype it up over the next couple weeks and be like, he's just had phenomenal practice, and so we need to put him in there. I mean, I still wouldn't buy it, but okay. Right? Like, why announce it now? It's literally just because the dude stepped on the fucking field, and now everybody wants that. Everybody fucking wants that. So, but I'm telling you, man, one injury, anyway, you get it. I'm gonna get up out of here. This is my post-game analysis video. Hopefully we can stay healthy, and hopefully he doesn't get fucking just battered when he does go in. Anyway, so we'll see how the rest of the season plays out, should the season play out. And we'll discuss it as we go. Because obviously everything with this season is up in the air. It's impossible to evaluate. There are so many fucking constantly wrenches being thrown into the cogs and making everything fucked up. So it's really impossible to evaluate, but we're going to do our best as we go along. Obviously, I have a massively differing opinion to everybody else. So we'll see who ends up being right in the long run. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope everybody else ends up being right. There's a lot of stuff that I'm just objectively right about. Right? Like the stats and the facts and the data. And I mean, like, look, you can spin, when it comes to the performance of the Dolphins, you can try and spin that the best you can. And you can even point to, 24-0, and look, blah, blah, blah on defense. You can say that, but that's not being objective, right? because you're not taking into account a lot of other massively relevant factors that play into that. You know, and the Dolphins' performance just flat out was not dominant. It just wasn't. It's a fact. It's a fact. The stat lines prove it overall. When you take every stat into account, not just the final score, when you look at the game tape, when you add in the fact that the Jets are, you know, injury riddled on top of already having a bunch of issues in a rebuilding cycle, right? Blah, blah, blah. So, and then how bad that they played on the field, the penalties that they got, the number of times they shot themselves in the foot, drop passes, overthrows, underthrows, miscommunications, etc. Right? So when you take everything into account, it's just undeniable that they did not dominate that game. They played okay, and then had a lot of other things go their way, and they got a 24-0 win. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.